The morning started like any other morning in the Galactic Council chambers. The Great Hall stretched wide across the space station, with 12 different species sitting at their assigned tables. Each species looked different from the others. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like they were made of living crystal that sparkled in the artificial light. Ambassador Sarah Chin sat at the human table. She was a small woman with dark hair pulled back in a neat style. Her uniform was clean and pressed, the blue fabric showing the Earth symbol on her shoulder. For 10 years, she had spoken for all of humanity in this place. Every morning at exactly the same time, she would stand up and give the daily report from Earth. The other ambassadors liked listening to Sarah. Humans were still new to the galaxy, but they were good at finding ways to make everyone happy. When the rock people of Granite Prime fought with the gas beings from Cloud 7, it was usually Sarah who found a way to fix the problem. When trade disputes happened, she could make deals that worked for everyone. Today felt normal at first. The lights came on at the usual time. The air systems hummed their quiet song. The food machines made the different meals that each species needed to stay healthy. Sarah walked to her place and set down her datapad like she did every day. But when the time came for her to speak, something was wrong. Sarah pressed the button on her communication device. Nothing happened. She pressed it again, harder this time. Still nothing. The small screen that usually showed green numbers was completely black. Strange, she said to herself. She tried the backup system. That was black 2 dot around the room. Other ambassadors started to notice. The tall Zephyrians made soft ringing sounds when they were worried, and now their crystal bodies were chiming like wind bells in a storm. The Mokari delegation moved their tentacles in quick, nervous patterns. High Chancellor Vex stood up from the center table. He was old, even for his long-lived species, and his 6 eyes could look in different directions at the same time. When he spoke, his voice was deep and calm. "Ambassador Chen, is there a problem with your equipment?" Sarah tried her systems one more time. "I cannot reach Earth, High Chancellor. All communication channels are dead." The room became very quiet. In 10 years, Earth had never missed a scheduled report. Not once. Even during the Great Solar Storm 3 years ago, they had found a way to send their message. Counselor Rena of the Shell People clicked her claws on the table. "Perhaps it is just a technical problem. These things happen with new species sometimes." But Sarah shook her head. "We have 3 different backup systems, and emergency systems after that. 4. All of them to fail at once." She did not finish the sentence, but everyone understood what she meant. Chancellor Vex activated the main communication array. The massive system could reach any world in the known galaxy. He pointed it toward the Sol system where Earth lived. "Sol system, this is Galactic Council Station calling. Please respond." They waited. The seconds felt like hours. "Sol system, this is Galactic Council Station calling. Earth, please respond immediately." Still nothing. The Whisper Lords spoke in their strange way, making sounds that only some species could understand. Their translator box said, "We sense great disturbance in the space currents. Something moves in the dark between stars." Dr. Keth of the Science Division pulled up a star map on the main screen. The Sol system showed as a small blue dot near the edge of Council space. "All long-range sensors show normal readings," he reported. "But our deep space monitoring stations have not reported in for 3 days. 3 days. Sarah felt cold inside her chest. Earth had gone silent 3 days ago, and nobody had noticed because the daily reports were recorded ahead of time. The system had been playing old messages while something terrible was happening to her home. "We must send ships," declared War. Leader Thax, his people were warriors, and they always wanted to fight when there was trouble. "If Earth is in danger, we should help them." But Chancellor Vex held up one hand. "It would take our fastest ships 12 days to reach Earth, if there Is trouble there? It may be too late for help. Sarah stood up suddenly. Her chair made a scraping sound on the metal floor. You do not understand, she said. Her voice was louder than usual. Humans do not go silent. We talk all the time. We send messages and signals and broadcasts. We cannot help ourselves. If Earth has stopped talking, it means something very bad has happened. The other ambassadors looked at each other with worry. They had learned that humans were different from other species in many ways. Most species in the galaxy were careful and quiet. They thought for a long time before doing anything. But humans acted fast and talked constantly. They filled the radio. Waves with music and stories and random thoughts. Ambassador Quill spoke up. His bird-like species had the best hearing in the galaxy. Now that you mention it, the usual background chatter from your system has been missing. We thought you had simply become more disciplined. Never, Sarah said firmly. My people would rather die than stop talking. The words hung in the air like a dark cloud. Everyone in the room suddenly understood that this was not a technical problem. This was something much worse. Chancellor Vex made a decision. We will send our fastest scout ships immediately. And we will try every method of long-range communication we have. He looked directly at Sarah. But you should prepare yourself, Ambassador. If your people have gone completely silent, they may be trying to tell us something very important. Sarah nodded, but inside she was thinking about her daughter back on Earth, about her elderly parents in their small house by the ocean, about the billions of humans who woke up every morning and filled the cosmos with their endless, beautiful noise. Now, there was only silence. And silence, Sarah knew, was the most frightening sound of all. Captain Elena Vasquez floated in the command center of Station Cerberus, deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Her station was hidden inside a large rock that looked like any other asteroid from the outside. But inside, 50 of Earth's best people worked day and night, watching the darkness between stars for any sign of danger. Elena had been doing this job for 7 years. She was tall and strong, with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her uniform was black with no name tags or symbols. If anyone asked, Station Cerberus did not exist. The people who worked there were officially dead, their names removed from all records. This was how Earth protected its secrets. Station was quiet except for the soft hum of computers and air recyclers. Most of her crew was sleeping. The night shift was smaller, just 12 people watching their screens and sensors. Elena liked the night shift. It was peaceful, and she could think clearly. But tonight was different. Captain, called Lieutenant Torres from the sensor station. His voice was tight with worry. I have contacts on the outer edge of the system. Multiple ships coming in fast. Elena pushed off from the wall and floated over to Torres. The young man's face was pale as he stared at his screen. Elena looked at the display and felt her stomach drop. 12 ships were moving into the solar system. They were big, much bigger than any ship humans had ever built. Their design was strange, all smooth curves and sharp edges at the same time. They moved in perfect formation, like hunters working together. Are they council ships? Elena asked, though she already knew the answer. Torres shook his head. No, Captain. I have studied every ship design in the galactic database. These do not match anything we know. Elena activated the general alarm. Red lights flashed throughout. The station and her crew began waking up and rushing to their posts. Within minutes, all 50 people were at their stations, ready for whatever was coming. Report, Elena ordered. Chief Petty Officer Williams spoke first. 12 unknown vessels, estimated length 800 meters each. They are using some kind of propulsion system we have never seen before. No energy signatures that match our databases. Weapons? Elena asked. Unknown, Captain. But those ships are built for war. Look at the hull design, the way they move. These are predators. Elena studied the ships on the main screen. Williams was right. These vessels moved like sharks in deep water, smooth and deadly. Something about them made her skin crawl. Where are they heading? She asked. Lieutenant Chun checked her navigation. Computer, direct course for Earth, Captain. They will arrive in 6 hours. Elena felt cold. 6 hours was not enough time to warn Earth properly. The regular communication channels would take too long to reach the right people. By the time Earth's defense forces were ready, these unknown ships would already be there. Sir, called Specialist Rodriguez from the communication station. I am detecting jamming signals. Very powerful ones. They are blocking all standard communication frequencies. Elena understood immediately. These aliens, whoever they were, had cut Earth off from the rest of the galaxy. No calls for help could get out. No warnings could be sent. Earth was alone. Can we break through the jamming? Elena asked. Rodriguez tried for several minutes, his fingers flying over his controls. Finally, he shook his head. No, Captain. Their technology is too advanced. I cannot get any message through to Earth or to the Galactic Council. Elena made a decision that would change everything. All stations, prepare for emergency broadcast. We are going to send everything we know to Earth Defense Command using the quantum burst transmitter. The quantum burst transmitter was their most secret weapon. It could send messages instantly across any distance, but it could only be used once. After that, the aliens would know exactly where Station Cerberus was hidden. Captain, said Williams. Quietly, if we use the quantum transmitter, they will find us. Elena looked at her crew. These people had given up their old lives to protect Earth. They knew the risks when they took this job. Our mission is to warn Earth of danger. This is the biggest danger humanity has ever faced. She activated the transmitter herself. Earth Defense Command, this is Station Cerberus. 12 unknown hostile vessels approaching Earth. Arrival in 6 hours. They have advanced jamming technology. All external communications are blocked. Recommend immediate system-wide defense alert. This station will continue monitoring. Cerberus. Out. The message lasted only 10 seconds, but Elena knew it would reach Earth instantly. Now the defense forces would have time to prepare. Message sent, Captain, Rodriguez reported. But I am detecting scanning beams. They are looking for the source of the transmission. Elena nodded. All crew, prepare for possible attack. Seal all sections and power down everything except life. Support and sensors. The alien ships changed course immediately. 3 of them broke away from the main group and headed straight for the asteroid belt. Elena watched them approach on her screens, knowing that her crew might have only minutes to live, but they had done their job. Earth would not be caught completely by surprise. As the alien ships grew larger on her screens, Elena thought about her home planet. She had been born in Mexico City in a small house with a garden full of flowers. Her mother had taught her to be strong. Her father had taught her to protect others. Both lessons had brought her to this moment, floating in a hidden station while death approached from the stars. Captain, whispered Torres, they are so beautiful and terrible at the same time. Elena had to agree. The alien ships moved like deadly art, perfect and frightening. She had never seen anything so dangerous or so graceful. Whatever happens, Elena told her crew, remember that we gave Earth a fighting chance. That is worth everything. The first alien ship reached their asteroid and began to scan it carefully. Elena held her breath and waited to see if her people would live to see another day. Outside, in the cold darkness of space, the hunters had found their prey. Colonel Marcus Webb stood on the roof of the New York Defense Center, watching the sky burn. 3 alien ships hung over the city like dark clouds, their smooth hulls reflecting the fires below. He had fought in wars before, but nothing had prepared. Him for this. Marcus was a big man with scars on his hands and a calm way of speaking. He had served in the Titan colonies when rebels tried to break away from Earth. He had seen combat on Mars when the mining disputes turned violent. But those were fights between humans. This was different. The aliens had landed 6 hours ago. Their ships had come down in every major city on Earth at exactly the same time. London, Tokyo, Moscow, Cairo, Sydney, everywhere that humans gathered. In large numbers, the aliens had arrived. Marcus pressed his radio button. "All units, this is Colonel Webb. Report status." The voices came back one by one. "Captain Johnson in Los Angeles. Heavy fighting in downtown area. Enemy forces advancing on all fronts. Major Kim in Seoul. We are holding the airport, but barely. Lieutenant Colonel Patel in Mumbai. They are using weapons we have never seen before." Marcus listened to each report and felt a cold anger growing in his chest. The aliens were not just attacking Earth. They were studying humans while they killed them. They moved their forces carefully, testing human responses, learning how Earth's armies fought. "Sir," called Sergeant Martinez from behind him. She was young and fast, one of the best soldiers Marcus had ever trained. "The alien ground troops are 3 blocks away. They are moving toward the government buildings." Marcus looked through his binoculars. The alien soldiers were tall and thin, wearing armor that seemed to move and change color. They walked in perfect lines, their weapons held ready. Behind them came larger creatures that looked like metal spiders with too many legs, but something was wrong with their attack. Marcus had studied military tactics his whole life, and these aliens were making mistakes. They were too careful, too slow. They acted like they expected humans to run away in fear. "Martinez, how many enemy soldiers do you count?" She looked through her own binoculars. "About 200, sir. Maybe more coming behind them." Marcus smiled, but it was not a happy smile. "They think 200 soldiers can take this whole city. They think we will surrender when we see their fancy armor and weapons." He activated his radio again. "All units, this is Webb. New orders. Do not engage the enemy directly. Let them advance into the prepared zones. Then we show them what humans do when someone threatens our home." Marcus had been preparing for this moment since Alina's warning reached Earth 6 hours ago. The aliens thought they were fighting a normal species, one that would panic and run when faced with superior technology. They were about to learn that humans were not normal. The alien soldiers reached the first intersection. Marcus watched them stop and look around, confused. The streets were empty. No screaming crowds, no fleeing civilians. Just silence. Then. First explosion went off. Marcus had placed bombs in every building along the alien route. Not to kill them, their armor was too strong for that. The explosions were a message. Each blast was timed perfectly, creating a pattern that spelled out words in Morse code. The message was simple: "You are not welcome here." The aliens paused, clearly receiving some kind of communication from their commanders. Then they continued forward, but now they moved differently. They were alert, wary, good. Fear was the beginning of understanding. The second phase began when the aliens reached the town square. Human soldiers appeared on every rooftop, not to fight, but to perform a strange kind of dance. They moved in formation, their actions creating shapes that could be seen from above. The shapes formed numbers, mathematical equations that any advanced species would recognize. Marcus spoke into his radio. "Phase 2 complete. Begin Phase 3. Now came the part that would really confuse the aliens. Human soldiers began to retreat, but not in panic. They moved in careful patterns, destroying specific buildings as they went. But the destruction was not random. Each building that fell was part of a larger picture, a message written in architecture and flame. From their ships above, the aliens would see the pattern clearly. The humans were writing words in the language of destruction, using their own City as paper and explosions as ink. The message growing across New York said, "We learn from everything, even you." "Sir," Martinez said, "the aliens have stopped advancing." They seemed confused. Marcus nodded. This was exactly what he wanted. They came here expecting to fight primitives who would panic at the sight of their technology. Instead, they are watching us have a conversation with them, using tactics as words. His radio crackled. "Colonel Webb, this is Captain Rodriguez at the harbor. The aliens are sending more troops, but they are moving very slowly now. They keep stopping to scan the area." "Good," Marcus replied. "They are starting to realize that every human action has meaning, every retreat is planned. Every explosion is part of a larger statement." The third phase was the most dangerous. Human soldiers began to approach the alien lines, but not to attack. They carried white flags, but their movements were strange. They walked in mathematical spirals, creating Fibonacci sequences with their footsteps. They were approaching under the flag of truce, but they were also solving complex equations with their bodies. The aliens did not know how to respond. They had conquered 17 other species, but none of those species had ever tried to teach them mathematics during a battle. Marcus watched as his soldiers completed the spiral pattern and then retreated again. The aliens followed, but cautiously. Now, they were beginning to understand that humans fought with their minds as much as their weapons. "All units," Marcus said into his radio, "prepare for Phase 4. It is time to show them what happens when predators hunt something that hunts them back." He looked up at the alien ships hanging in the sky. Soon, very soon, those ships would report back to whoever had sent them. They would tell their commanders about a species that turned warfare into art, that spoke in the language of controlled violence. Marcus hoped the aliens were good students, because humanity was just getting started with their lessons. Dr. Amara Okafor sat in her underground laboratory beneath the ruins of Geneva, surrounded by screens showing data from around the world. She was a small woman with dark skin and tired eyes, but her mind was sharper than any weapon humanity possessed. For 15 years, she had studied how different species communicated. Now she was watching her own species create a new kind of language. The laboratory was deep underground, protected by thick concrete and metal. Above her, the city of Geneva was burning. Alien soldiers moved through the streets, but they moved slowly now, carefully. They had learned to be afraid of human patterns. Amara watched the data streams flowing across her screens. Every human action in every city was being recorded and analyzed. What she saw made her heart race with excitement and terror at the same time. "Computer, show me the New York pattern analysis," she said. The main screen lit up with a three-dimensional map of New York City. Red dots showed where explosions had happened. Blue lines showed the paths of human soldiers. Green marks showed where buildings had been destroyed. When seen from above, all these marks formed clear shapes and symbols. "Mathematical progression confirmed," the computer said in its calm voice. "The human forces are creating Fibonacci spirals in their movement patterns. Building destructions follow prime number sequences. Explosion timing matches binary code translations." Amara smiled despite the danger. Humans were doing something no species had ever done before. They were turning an entire war into a giant conversation. Every battle was a sentence. Every tactical retreat was a paragraph. Every coordinated attack was a chapter in a book written. Across the surface of Earth itself, her communication device buzzed. It was Colonel Webb from New York. "Dr. Okafor, we need to know if they are receiving our messages. Are the aliens understanding what we are telling them?" Amara pulled up the alien ship monitoring data. "Yes, Marcus. Their scanning patterns have changed completely. They are no longer just looking for military targets. They are mapping every human action, trying to decode what we are saying." "Good. What is our next message?" Amara had been working on this for hours. We need to tell them that we know they have done this before. We need to show them that we understand they are hunters who prey on younger species. She switched to another screen that showed reports from around the world. In London, human forces had arranged their defensive positions to form the mathematical symbol for repetition. In Tokyo, soldiers were creating patterns that showed counting sequences 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 17. 17, Amara whispered. That was the number of species the aliens had conquered before coming to Earth. Somehow, humans had figured this out and were showing the aliens that they knew. Her assistant, Dr. Park, looked up from his workstation. Dr. Okafor, I have something strange from the Australian data. The human forces there are not fighting at all. They are just building something. Amara brought up the Australian feeds. In the desert outside Sydney, thousands of human soldiers were working together to move rocks and dirt. From space, their work formed a massive image that could be seen. From orbit, it was a picture of a scale, the kind used to weigh things. On one side of the scale were 17 small circles. On the other side was one larger circle with smaller circles around it. The message was clear. You have conquered 17 worlds. Now you face one world with many allies. Brilliant, Amara breathed. The humans in Australia were telling the aliens that Earth was not alone, that the Galactic Council would come to help. They were showing the aliens that this hunt was different from all the others. Her screen suddenly flashed red. Dr. Okafor, the computer announced, detecting massive energy buildup in alien ships worldwide. Analysis suggests preparation for planetary bombardment. Amara felt cold fear in her stomach. The aliens had decided that humans were too dangerous to keep alive. They were going to destroy Earth from space rather than continue trying to conquer it. But humans had prepared for this too. Computer, activate the Luna Protocol. On the moon, human colonists had been working in secret for the past 6 hours. They had built something that would be visible from anywhere in the solar system. Using mining equipment and moon rovers, they had carved a message into the lunar surface that was 50 kilometers long. The message was simple, written in mathematical symbols that any spacefaring species would understand. Before you destroy US, consider what you will lose. Then the second part of the Luna Protocol began. Every human space station, every satellite, every piece of technology orbiting Earth began to move. They formed patterns in space, creating geometric shapes that grew larger and more complex by the minute. From their ships, the aliens would see humans literally rewriting the sky. Satellites moved into formation to create three-dimensional sculptures made of metal and light. Space stations changed their orbits to form mathematical equations that hung in the darkness like silver poetry. Dr. Okafor called Dr. Park. The energy readings from the alien ships are decreasing. They are not charging their weapons anymore. Amara watched her screens as data poured in from around the world. The aliens had stopped their bombardment preparations. Their ships were repositioning, moving into scanning formation instead of attack formation. They want to see what else we have to say, she realized. The final part of the message was the most important. On every continent, human forces began to perform their last coordinated action. They formed the shape of an arrow pointing toward the outer edge of the solar system, toward the place where Elena's monitoring station was hidden. Message was, there are watchers. Others will know what happened here. Amara knew that Elena's station had probably been destroyed hours ago, but the aliens did not know that. They would think that somewhere in the asteroid belt, human observers were recording everything that happened. They would think that if they destroyed Earth, the evidence would reach the Galactic Council. Computer, are we receiving any response from the alien ships? Negative, Dr. Okafor, but their scanning intensity has increased by 400%. They are analyzing every human action very carefully. Amara leaned back in her chair. Humanity had just spent 12 hours having the strangest conversation in galactic history. They had used mathematics, art, military tactics, and space engineering to speak with their enemies. They had turned the entire solar system into a communications device. Now they had to wait and see if the aliens would answer back. And if they did, whether humans would like what they had to say. Ambassador Sarah Chun stood in the middle of the Galactic Council chambers, her hands shaking as she watched the data streams from her home solar system. For 3 days, the Council had been trying to reach Earth. Now they were finally seeing what had happened there, and nobody could believe what they were watching. The Great Hall was completely silent, except for the soft humming of computers. All 12 species sat perfectly still, staring at the main display screen. What they saw there changed everything they thought they knew about warfare and communication. "Computer, replay the sequence from coordinate 77 Alpha," Sarah said. Her voice was steady, but inside she felt like crying and cheering at the same time. The screen showed the surface of Earth from space. But this was not the Earth that anyone expected to see during an alien invasion. Instead of random destruction and chaos, there were patterns everywhere. Perfect mathematical shapes drawn in fire and movement across entire continents. High Chancellor Vex leaned forward in his chair. His 6 eyes were all focused on the screen. "Ambassador Chen, are you telling us that your people created these patterns while they were being attacked?" Sarah nodded. "Yes, High Chancellor. My people turned the entire war into a conversation. Every battle, every retreat, every explosion was carefully planned to send a message." She activated the next sequence. The screen showed the movement of satellites around Earth. Instead of random orbits, the satellites had been moved into complex geometric patterns. They formed 3-dimensional sculptures in space, mathematical equations that hung in the darkness. Like silver art, Counselor Rena clicked her claws nervously. But how did they coordinate all of this while under attack? The level of planning required would be impossible for most species. "Not for humans," Sarah said proudly. "We have something that other species find strange. We can work together instantly, even when we have never met before. We call it hive mind thinking, but it is not really like a hive mind. We just understand each other very quickly." The next image made several council members gasp. It showed the surface of Earth's moon, where humans had carved a message 50 kilometers long into the rock. The message was written in pure mathematics, understandable to any intelligent species. Ambassador Quill spoke up. "The message says, before you destroy us, consider what you will lose." "What did your people mean by that?" Sarah smiled. For the first time in days, she felt hope. They meant that destroying humanity would be the biggest mistake these aliens could make. Because humans do not just fight to survive, we fight to teach. And we had just given them the most valuable lesson in galactic history. She activated the final sequence. This was the part that made her most proud of her species. The screen showed human forces all over Earth performing their last coordinated action. Millions of people moved together to create arrows pointing toward the outer edge of the solar system. They were telling the aliens that watchers were recording everything, Sarah explained. That if Earth was destroyed, the evidence would reach the Galactic Council. They were buying time and making the aliens think twice. War leader Thak stood up suddenly. "Your people used psychological warfare against a species with superior technology. They made the aliens afraid to complete their attack." "More than that," said Dr. Keth, studying his instruments. "According to our deep space sensors, the alien ships have withdrawn from the Sol system. They left 6 hours ago." The room erupted in surprised chatter. The Zephyrians chimed like celebration bells. The Mokari waved their tentacles in excitement. Even the normally quiet Whisper Lords made sounds of amazement. Chancellor Vex called for order. "Ambassador Chun, do we know why the aliens retreated?" Sarah looked at her datapad. She had been receiving reports from the few human monitoring stations that had survived the attack. We believe they realize that humans are not like the other species they have conquered. We do not just resist, we study. We learn, we adapt. And most importantly, we remember. She brought up one final image. It showed a transmission that human scientists had detected leaving the alien ships before they retreated. The transmission was sent toward the galaxy's outer rim, where the alien home base was located. Our experts have partially decoded this message, Sarah continued. It appears to be a warning to other alien fleets. It tells them to avoid human space. It describes humans as a species that weaponizes learning itself. The council members looked at each other with new understanding. The aliens had not just been defeated, they had been educated. They had learned that attacking humans was not worth the cost. Ambassador Quill asked the question everyone was thinking. Sarah, what happens now? Will your people seek revenge against these aliens? Sarah shook her head. No, humans do not fight for revenge. We fight to protect others. And now we have taught the galaxy something important. We have shown that there are ways to defeat superior technology using intelligence and creativity. She activated her communication system one more time. This time, it worked perfectly. The signal reached Earth instantly, and Sarah heard the most beautiful sound in the universe, the voice of her daughter calling her name. Mom? Mom, is that you? We did it. We actually did it. The aliens are gone, and the whole galaxy saw how we sent them away. Tears ran down Sarah's face as she spoke to her family for the first time in days. Around her, the council members smiled and made their own happy sounds. The Zephyrians chimed gentle melodies. The Mokari danced with their tentacles. Even war leader Thax looked pleased, but Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Word would spread across the galaxy about what humans had done. Other young species would learn from humanity's example. The next time predatory aliens tried to attack a peaceful world, they would face defenders who had learned the human way of fighting. Earth had not just survived an invasion. It had written a new chapter in galactic history. It had shown the universe that sometimes the best weapon is not a gun or a bomb, but an idea that changes everything. And ideas, Sarah knew, were something humans were very good at sharing.